I've been doing this rant for 10 years, but only once in a while. I've published it a couple of times, and over the years, a lot, actually. I was talking about a lot in 2004, 2005, 2006, as the Department of Homeland Security was really ramping up and rolling along, and the cracks were starting to show, and we had people like Michael Chertoff, Skeletor, running it. Now he's, of course, with one of the porno X-ray machine companies that they sell into the airports. So he figured out a way to cash in on his so-called government service. As just like Eric Cantor did. I mean, this is the Republican thing to do, and frankly, too many Democrats do it as well. Is a little bit of public service, establish connections here in Washington D.C., and then go to the private sector where the money is. And but the word Homeland has an interesting, shall we say, history. Let me start out. This is last Thursday. In fact, I was watching his show when he said this, and I was like, whoa, when Chris Matthews went off on the word Homeland. Listen to this.
I am very uncomfortable with the phrase homeland. It strikes me as totalitarian. It's a term used by the neocons. They love it. It suggests something strange to me. Like, who else are we defending except America? Why don't you just say America? Why does he say we defend against attacks against this country? As if we're facing some existential Armageddon threat from these people. Do you buy the phrase homeland as a reference to America? I never heard it growing up, never heard it in my adulthood. It's a new word. Why are we using it? Is there some other place we're defending? What are we talking about when we say homeland? What's it about, this new lingo? WMD, homeland. It's the language of the neocons. It's a language to get us further into war.
It's not just the language of the neocons. And yes, it is a language to get us further into war. But this concept of homeland assumes that there is some physical place that is the place from which your ancestors came. Now, Native Americans could say that about North America. And, the big use of this word in the early 20th century, and this is what caught the attention of Adolf Hitler and Rudolf Hess when they were writing Mein Kampf, was the Zionist movement in Europe. Jews saying, we want to create a homeland for ourselves in the Middle East. We want to go back to Israel. And the word homeland was a very, very big part of the Zionist movement in the 1920s and 1930s, and Adolf Hitler noticed that, and he thought, okay, the Jewish people are saying we need a homeland. In order to become a successful demigod or Gog in Germany, we need the German people to think of themselves as a race apart from everybody else. In other words, the Germans are not just another, white-skinned, Caucasian, European group who speaks a different language. We're actually a different race. And therefore, we have a separate homeland. And Hitler's reasoning on this, and Rudolf Hess's reasoning on this, was that if you could get people to think of their nation as their homeland, then you could create this us versus them sense. We are the race for whom this land is ours. In fact, Josh Marshall talked about, in a piece for Talking Points Memo, he talked about how there's a little bit of a blood and soil Germanic tinge to the word homeland. Well, there's more than just a little. And Blut und Erd were the slogans of the Nazi regime. We Germans, and I'm not speaking for myself, I'm not German, but we Germans, they would say, came from the soil. Our blood is part of the soil. Our blood and soil, it's all, this is Germany for Germans, right? And Germany over everything. Deutschland über alles. And so in order to cause Germans to start thinking of themselves as a separate people, a separate race of people with a specific geographic homeland, in 1934, in November of 1934, the Nazi Party decided to stop referring to Germany by the old-fashioned phrase that was used by and large, right-wing patriots, which was Fatherland, Vaterland. Der Vaterland, stopped referring to it as that, or the occasional and obscure Mutterland, motherland. Or, unsere Nation, our nation. We're not going to refer to it as our country, our nation, our fatherland. We're going to refer to it as our homeland. And the word homeland in German is Heimat. And this word was rolled out in 1934 during the Nuremberg rallies that Leni Riefenstahl documented so well that you can see now in her movie Force of the Will, I think is the title of it. And it's a classic. You can rent it over at Amazon or probably a lot of other places. And if you really want to understand what the average German was exposed to, this movie was required to be played before every movie in Germany for 5 or 6 years, right? It was everybody could recite this movie. And here from that movie, here is a clip from the 1934 Nuremberg rallies, which was the Nazis' big coming out party. Here is Rudolf Hess, as he's introducing Adolf Hitler, saying, Dank unserer Führer, thanks to our Führer, Heimat zu sein. We now have a homeland. Heimat zu sein is ours. Heimat zu sein for Deutscher, for Germans, alles über, all over die Welt, the world. Here is Rudolf Hess introducing the word homeland into the German vernacular in 1934.
Dank Ihrer Führung wird Deutschland sein Ziel erreichen, Heimat zu sein. Heimat zu sein für alle Deutschen der Welt. Adolf Hitler! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil!
So that's where the word homeland came from. And, when the Bushies and the Cheneys in early 2000, after 9/11, they were looking for, I think, frankly, the same thing. How do we create a sense on the part of Americans that America is more than just, these neocons have always rejected the notion that America, the United States, is a polyglot society, that we are, e pluribus unum, out of many one. They've always rejected that. Look at Pat Buchanan's book. If America is going to go through an existential crisis because, any day now, and the book came out a couple of years ago, we are now past that day. There are going to be more babies of color being born than white babies. And the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant ethic or Catholic ethic, actually, Pat Buchanan's case, upon which this country was founded is going to be lost. So let's have a homeland. And they created the Department of Homeland Security. And now Obama is talking about we're going to protect the homeland. Come on. It's time to consign this word to the trash bin of history. At least for a country like the United States, this celebrates diversity. I mean, I can get if the Apache want to use the word homeland for the land that the Apache have been on for 10,000 years. That makes perfect sense. But for a country of immigrants and invaders, to use the word homeland, this is dangerous stuff. This is the stuff that fascistic movements come out of.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So I suppose it should be no surprise that this is what Dick Cheney and friends decided to trot out. I doubt George Bush even gave any thought to it. He's so non-curious.